Oh yeah, it feels good to be back. I was very excited to hear that Kyle Crane would return as the protagonist in Dying Light the Beast. I loved the first game, the following DLC, and while the story didn't hook me quite as much, I still enjoyed my time spent with Dying Light 2. If you aren't aware, Dying Light is a zombie game where your main mode of traversal is parkour, and most of the combat is through melee weapons because most of the zombies can't climb, and loud noises, like gunshots, attract the ones that can. Now, usually what happens when I record for a video is I play the game within my scheduled work hours and stop when those are done, because I want to keep something that resembles a human schedule, but I was enjoying myself to the point of playing the game well into the evening. Is the story a Shakespearean masterpiece? No. I don't come to Dying Light for an epic, I come to Dying Light because it's going to tell me a fun, straightforward story and let me dropkick zombies off rooftops while doing it. And that's all it needs to be. The gameplay remains its strongest aspect, though there are a few things I took issue with, but considering Techland's track record of continual updates and patches as they listen to their players, I expect the game to play at least a little differently a year from now, as they were keeping the first Dying Light up to date all the way up to Stay Human's release years later. I still enjoy the parkour, the combat feels good, it's always correct and fun to dropkick zombies off a roof. I loved getting my hands on the grapple hook, and though I missed the glider from Dying Light 2, I understand why it isn't here. There's just not nearly the same level of verticality as in Villador. I also still enjoy the loop of gathering resources and crafting consumables and upgrades, and I was curious to see what material I would consider more valuable than a whole human person this time, because in the first game it was string. What can I say, I liked having decoys on hand. In The Beast, the most valuable materials ended up being wires and resin. Later on, I struggled to get my hand on enough poppies for completely legal purposes, officer, but I blame that on not being adept at finding them. Meanwhile, the sound design and music remains fantastic, especially in zombie-infested areas. Like, listen to this. Now, my biggest criticism is the fucking jump scares.
You can't keep getting away with it!
Way too often, a zombie would be squeezed into a tight space near a door, around a corner, playing dead while the world explodes around them, or hiding in a goddamn bush not reacting to anything until the exact moment you come near, and then they lunge at you with a volatile sound effect. It happened way too often, and made me paranoid about walking into rooms without my guard up. Now, maybe that was the point, to make you uneasy, but do it once or twice, not dozens of times. I was relieved when I got the grapple hook because it meant I didn't need to waste a throwing knife on the obviously laying in wait trap zombie that hadn't reacted to anything even when zombies usually shuffle towards the sound of a fly farting in the next room. Deeply annoying. The next critique for me is that dark zones are doable during the day. There's no incentive to do them at night beyond the bonus XP, and you get plenty of XP just playing the game as normal and doing side quests. For those unaware, a dark zone is a place sheltered from daylight where the more dangerous zombies hide away until nighttime. Zombies in the setting are sensitive to UV, and while most will just become more sluggish under the sun, the apex predators of the bunch, the Volatiles, literally burn if they're caught in daylight. So in Dying Light 2, during the day they take shelter in dark zones. But all I ever found in the Beast's dark zones were virals and one or two howlers, which at early levels are intimidating, yes, but towards the middle and end of the game I was clearing those with reckless abandon. Now, if this is just because of the difficulty I was playing on, fair enough. I play on story because I'm here for a fun time, not a hard time. That's what a dom is for. But perusing Reddit did reveal other people commenting on how disappointing the dark zones are, so maybe not just a me thing. Which is not to say that the game does not have difficult or intimidating moments, it 100% does, and one particular mission towards the end had me nearly perching in my chair like Marisha Ray in a high-stakes battle, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. Overall, the gameplay is still an absolute blast, and while you do not need to have played the previous games to understand what's going on, you will have more appreciation for who shows up and what Crane has been through. As an aside, this might be a little too niche to mention, but you will also have an appreciation for the game if you're the kind of person who enjoys hearing masculine growls, rumbles, and snarls. I am not one of those people. Help me. The game at least provides a story catch-up, both on the main menu and during the introduction. The long and short of it is that Crane was a mercenary working for the Global Relief Effort, the GRE. He was dropped into the Turkish city of Haran to find a rogue agent and the sensitive documents they took. This wouldn't be an issue if the city wasn't quarantined because of a zombie outbreak. Crane got infected, saved by survivors, helped those survivors, and lost the friendships he made along the way, because the zombie apocalypse spares very few. He broke ties with the GRE because of ethical differences, recovered the documents, and in searching for a cure, he came into contact with a strange cult outside the city that worshipped the sun. The leader of that cult turned out to be a sentient volatile who could speak to him through telepathy, and urged him to nuke the area to stop the spread of infection. When he refused, she forced a serum down his throat that would make him like her, whereupon he escaped the boundaries of the quarantine just as night descended, turning him into a violent, mindless monster. And now we're arriving at the actual story of the beast, so, needless to say, I will be spoiling the entire thing. If you want to play it yourself, this is where we should part ways, but for the rest of you, let's get into it, shall we? If you enjoy this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and drop a comment telling me your experience with the game. Thank you so much for getting me this far. I know what game I'm going to cover for reaching this point, but until that's ready, get a snack, some water, settle in, and enjoy the parkour zombies. Our journey begins with Crane introducing himself and providing the barest explanation of what happened in the setting up to this point. The important thing here is that he has spent the last 13 years being brutally experimented on by a man called the Baron and his well-equipped cadre of scientists and soldiers. The snapshots we see of these experiments gives an idea of exactly how torturous they were, injected with chemicals and serums, exposed to high-intensity UV light, operated on without anesthetic, needles to the eye, all of which leaves him throwing up on the floor in a pile of limp, shivering misery with blackened veins and new scars to add to the collection. You get a much better look at those scars later on, and the most discomforting one for me is 2 rows of dots running down his spine. If you've ever had the extreme displeasure of a lumbar puncture, you'll understand why this made me cringe upon seeing it. In the middle of being prepped for another day of nightmares, we see 2 men sneak into the room and take out the scientist, quickly moving to free Crane from his restraints. Unfortunately, Crane is in no condition to help them, and they're interrupted by armed security who make short work of subduing the intruders. Now, I recognized Spike from the first game, and he shows up briefly at the start of the second, but I didn't immediately clock who the second guy was, which turned out to be really goddamn important, but you'll find out why much later. We hear a phone call between a woman and an unheard party talking about the dangerous plan to release someone, and then we're back in Crane's perspective just as the scientists have finished extracting stem cells from his body. The scientists refer to Crane as Subject Alpha, and a mysterious stranger in a grey suit injects him with some kind of serum that sends his body into overdrive. It's immediately obvious that we are dealing with a military-grade piece of shit. There's zero subtlety to this man, and his delivery is perfect.
His body keeps trying to fight it. Rise and shine, Crane. How are you feeling? Not quite like yourself? Not surprising after what we've put you through.
The Baron walks off in an air of smug contempt and Crane blacks out, only briefly resurfacing to see the Baron's new toy, Subject Beta, wake up and give this scientist a back-alley craniotomy. Collapsing to the floor, Crane comes to in the aftermath of a massacre addressed by a woman called Olivia, who begins guiding him out of this shitshow via radio. And can I just say, this opening was great. Remembering how capable Crane was in the first game, only to see him reduced to painfully crawling across the floor, hoping there are no zombies on the loose, because boy howdy is he not going to be able to do a damn thing if he's caught in this state. And Crane's voice actor also does a phenomenal job getting across just how exhausting and painful every moment of this section is for him.
I'm listening. Just gotta keep moving. Where am I?
With a shot of adrenaline to get him on his feet, Crane navigates the unfolding chaos of this facility until he reaches a lift that can take him to safety. Only, it took passing through a cell block of zombies to get to it, and the lift doesn't open for us, leading to Olivia initiating an emergency override, and consequently unlocking the cells full of virals, the newly turned of the infected, who are still fresh and agile enough to parkour after us in the open world. The lift is not going to open fast enough to save us, so Crane is left with no other option but to fight this oncoming wave, only for something unexpected to happen.
What the fuck?
Moving on from dousing that hallway in some very chunky salsa, Olivia bugs out and Crane scales the elevator shaft, finally breaching containment after he outruns a security lockdown in the entrance tunnel, and I love the smooth transition from running to cutscene in this part. Feeling the wind in his hair and the sun on his skin for the first time in what I assume is like a decade, Crane is directed to meet Olivia at a nearby monastery. We learn that he's in Castor Woods, a holiday town in the Western Alps, which puts him in Europe, but specifically somewhere between like southern France and northern Italy. I say it's a holiday town specifically because this neatly explains why there's a variety of accents found in the survivors here. It is mostly European accents, but there are a handful of Americans too. Getting inside the monastery, we secure the entrances and clear it of zombies, making it safe enough for Olivia to meet us at the top, where she happens upon Crane in the middle of some spicy flashbacks. As first official meetings go, it definitely could have been worse.
Crane? Wait, just wait.
Who the hell are
Olivia,
you?
I'm the one who's been talking
What
to
do
you.
you want from me?
I want to help you.
What do you want from me?
I want you to help me get away from this place.
Were you a prisoner too?
More like slave labor. But I wasn't there as long as you. I can't imagine what you've been through. At least now you're free.
No, not yet. Not until that fucker pays for what he did to me. All the years he took from me, all the agony he put me through.
You want revenge?
Damn right I do!
But you're in no condition to go after him. And even if you could, you can't take him on alone. The Baron controls the entire valley. He has an army.
And I'll kill every fucking one of them if I have to.
All right then. I'll help you get your revenge. And you get me out of this place. But first, you need to get your health back. And I can help you with that. You need meds to rebuild your stamina. Then you'll need equipment supplies, and allies.
Well, I'm sure that asshole's made plenty of enemies. Let's find him.
Not until you get your strength back. And for that, we need to find GSP.
What's that?
It's a biocatalyst that improves performance. We created it in the lab.
You want me to go back into that lab?
Of course not. We can harvest it from the monsters the Baron created. He was testing some in the wild, including one right near here.
Say hello to the first Chimera. We'll be hunting more of these throughout the game, and each one is a pain in the ass, some more than others. All of them, however, are necessary for leveling up Crane's beast mode. As an aside, I like that we can actually see Crane's face in this game. It adds more humanity to him in these scenes, which juxtaposes seeing him still covered in blood from the fight and, you know, spooky cool zombie eye. Still weak from the years of torture, Crane's body starts to rebel against this living nonsense after so much exertion all at once, and Olivia makes quick work of extracting the catalyst, injecting him with it in order to save his life. Days later, we see Crane having nightmares of Haran, and Olivia makes the unfortunate decision to wake him during said nightmare.
Kyle, it's okay. You're safe now.
Oh shit. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
He apologizes but isn't thrilled to hear that she injected him with science juice without asking. Understandable, considering people not asking if he's okay with what's happening to him has been the norm for over a decade, but I think both because it's been a constant and it actually did benefit him, he's able to just kind of gruffly accept what happened. He's obviously still not happy about it, but it saved his life and he can't get revenge on the Baron if he's dead. We can ask Olivia more about the Chimeras, but our immediate task is to head into town to search for allies, people who also want the Baron dead, and considering the man's a supervillain, there's guaranteed to be enemies of his just waiting for an opportunity to see him bite a curb. Now, being familiar with Dying Light, my first instinct is to try and stay off the ground as much as possible, so I didn't need Olivia to tell me that the best strategy is to stick to the rooftops because most biters can't climb. I did laugh, however, as just as she finished explaining that, I reached the rooftops and was immediately accosted by 3 biters.
Most biters can't climb.
Oh my dude, you just got pranked!
At least it never gets old to watch them shuffle off a rooftop because they can see you. It turns out there are survivors holding out at Town Hall. Some terrible monster ripped through the place and forced them to barricade themselves in the cafeteria, with only their leader, the sheriff, and one other guy trying to get the power back on so they can restore the UV lights. Upon clearing out the weaker zombies, we are accosted by another chimera called the Defect, a hulking brute partially covered by what remains of its human skin, stretched and torn open by the obscene growth of its body. Speaking of stretched and torn, if you are the proprietor of a penis, you may want to look away now.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Man didn't even get anything fun out of all that growth. Informing the survivors that the big monster is gone, we're pointed to the roof where we help get the power back on and meet the sheriff, another American. She was married to a local before the fall, and she and her rangers keep the town hall survivors safe, but something fast and brutal hit them, which wasn't the creature we fought. So there's something else out there, some kind of beast. It's at this point that Crane is introduced to the unfortunate reality of life in the apocalypse when the rest of the world is just as fucked as you are. The man who assisted the sheriff was bitten, and instead of waiting to turn or hiding it, he tells everyone what happened to him, says his goodbyes, and introduces his brain to some fresh air. There's no antizin left to hold back the infection, and the survivors in Castor Woods aren't nearly as developed nor equipped as the people of Villador. In the interest of helping these folk, we try to track the beast before the trail goes cold, which unfortunately means chasing it down at night when volatiles are on the prowl. Joy! We find a wrecked truck where something clearly busted out of containment, and we finally track it down to a nearby church where it's going chimp mode on the Baron's men.
Help me! Oh, shit!
Now that's just inconsiderate. Getting out of the church, we track it to a train tunnel where the beast ambushes Crane, allowing us to get a halfway decent look at what it is. With the tunnel collapsing and Volatiles disturbed, we run like our asses on fire and go deal with other matters, which should be defeating the next Chimera Olivia discovered, but instead becomes unlocking safe spots, side quests, and exploration because it's an open world sandbox. What am I going to do? Not get sidetracked? I jest, there's actually not a ton of side quests in the game, just enough to provide interesting diversions that range from light and amusing to utterly goddamn tragic, and I'm only going to spoil one of them, so if you play this game, the rest of them will be fresh for you. Eventually, however, we head off after the third Chimera known as the Mist, a female variant based on the Banshee infected type that springboards off regular zombies to lunge at us. She's called the Mist because, well, you can see why, or rather you can't see why, because she's surrounded by a dense fog that only gets worse once she's in her second phase. This goddamn fight was so annoying as a result that when I finally got the prompt to finish her, I was overjoyed that the execution animation was basically a Hulk smash.
Why are you running?
Let me tell you something.
From here, the sheriff sends us to fix the energy problem in town, as even though we did get the power back on for the town hall, that was the backup system, and the main source of electricity was a power plant they lost contact with. Reaching it, we find that the only person left alive over there is the foreman, Largo, a pessimistic jackass who tries to discourage you from fixing the place at every possible step until you actually manage to do so, at which point we find out he's working for the Baron. The Baron ordered the power plant sabotaged to try and force the town hall to capitulate to him. Crane is briefly in danger of being taken captive again, but hulks out and slaughters all the soldiers, turning the power plant back on. More of the Baron's men show up to rectify that, and the sheriff insists Crane get out of there because a war with the Baron is not an option, and like, girl, I get it, you're trying to keep your people safe, but the Baron turning off the power put your people in grave danger, leading to several deaths and 2 squads of fatalities when you sent rangers to investigate the power plant, so like, girl. The sheriff is grateful, but refuses to commit to fighting the Baron, which Jacob agrees with because, as things stand, they simply don't have the people or resources to go up against someone as well equipped as the Baron. Fair enough. To that end, Crane argues that it will work if they act carefully, just keep an eye on the Baron while they slowly gather allies and rebuild their strength. We're pointed to a local war monument where the Baron's men have been seen and discover empty canisters marked with E and F, a chemical manufacturing company with a plant nearby. When investigating said plant, the creature being kept there busts out, killing most of the soldiers and leaving us to mop up the rest. Crane finds and bullies a surviving nerd, like any self-respecting jock, and learns that the Baron's men are conducting experiments on the Chimeras, using special gas mixtures to draw them to specific locations, essentially marking an area for the biological weapon to run rampant, so if they ever wanted a place wiped out, all they'd have to do is launch some gas at it and let the Chimeras do the heavy lifting. Foreshadowing is a narrative device where... Anyway, we take some gas from the basement, and no, I did not fuck up my first go of delivering this. The truck did not blow up and force me to get in their tank from the basement, where I ran out of time and ended up attacked by volatiles at night. How dare you question my competence? We deliver the gas, let her rip, and fight one very big angry boy and his devastating cheeks for another dose of zombie steroids. Delicious. We return to Olivia because each time we extract GSB from a chimera, we don't just get a shot for ourselves, it also extracts a blood sample for her to study. To that end, she reveals that there are fragments of Crane's DNA in those monsters, presumably thanks to the Baron experimenting with the virus all those years and extracting science juice from Crane like a prize bull. Don't think about that phrasing too much. Anyway, Crane is disturbed and doesn't want to continue injecting himself, believing he's well enough to go up against the Baron. Olivia warns him that he isn't, but he's going to have to learn that the hard way. Luckily for us, the sheriff has intel on the Baron's activities over by an old salt mine. Not that I head there right away, instead taking the time to do more side quests and giggle over the charged kick animation, making me think of Legally Blonde.
It's called the bend and snap.
Eventually, I do head over to the salt mine, which takes a bit of a climb to reach, but once there, the sheriff points out the entrance and agrees to cover our approach. Not that I need the help, because as I said before, I'm here for a fun time, not a hard time, so I clear the guards outside and head in. The Baron's men are all over the place, from which we can overhear that they've captured Subject Beta, the Beast himself. Coming upon the containment cell, we take out the men surrounding it and call the sheriff.
Sheriff, you copy?
Yep. And I'm sorry, Kyle, but I need to protect my people.
Fuck.
God fucking damn it, girl. The Baron makes some megalomaniac comments about building a new future or whatever, and Crane releases Subject Beta, allowing him to escape the Baron's clutches. And more than a little pissed off by this, the Baron uses a grenade launcher to cause a cave-in, forcing Crane to take shelter in the containment cell. Thankfully, he survives and climbs out of there, navigating unfamiliar tunnels until we slip into a narrow crack, and it opens up into... a volatile nest. Great! We once more run like our arses on fire, as the volatiles don't take kindly to our intrusion, and we live to fight another day, informing Olivia about what happened, as Crane admits that he isn't strong enough yet and wants to resume injections. You know, I would almost believe that this actually had any impact on the story if Crane ever used his beast powers in a cutscene, but he doesn't. Even at the point in the story where he has full control of it, and it would be super cash money of him to go chimp mode on someone. Also, as an aside, it being nighttime will not make these patrolling volatiles leave the nest. Don't try to wait until it's safer, just run. Moving on. Upon learning of our survival, the sheriff hauled ass and unceremoniously left Jacob in charge without telling him what happened. He's shocked to learn the truth and points Crane in the direction of people who can help him in his crusade against the Baron, a group of exiles forced out by the sheriff some time ago that Jacob nonetheless remained in contact with despite her gag order. Many of them are like Crane, former lab rats of the Baron, and they're referred to as the Infected, who keep the virus at bay with special mushrooms. Now, I was already invested because, you know, I liked seeing Crane again. But this is where the story really grabbed my attention because I love this kind of thing. Humans that aren't quite human anymore but still hold on to it. I do some more busy work around the map that I didn't plan on recording because it would just be footage of me scrambling around stores and completing substations, only for the game to throw a curveball and have the Exiles telepathically reach out to Crane in the middle of driving.
Talk to me telepathically, it did not go well. Use the damn radio.
The radio isn't safe.
And this is freaky as fuck.
Meet me at Pembroke Farm. I'll explain everything.
Fucking telepathy, you've gotta be kidding me.
Alright then. After dealing with some of the Baron's men, we meet our new friend, and considering the last time we dealt with a telepathic infected was the Mother, I was slightly disappointed that the Exiles didn't look more overtly monstrous, but I suppose that might have made it a bit unbelievable for regular survivors to tolerate them before the sheriff showed up. We rescue a couple of Sven's people from being taken away by the Baron and race back to their home in the mountains so they can get a much-needed infusion before the infection takes over. Sven introduces us to the Exiles' leader, a British woman called Lydia, who is stern and protective, worried about bringing the Baron's attention down on them because every single one of them is a product of his malicious experiments. While she doesn't force Crane to leave, she bluntly tells him to do so even if she is still grateful for saving two of her people. In the interest of ingratiating ourselves and maybe getting more information on the Baron, Crane helps Sven and his friend Selby install signal boosters to the radio towers that the Baron uses for his broadcasts. This allows the Exiles to listen in on what he's doing while keeping them out of danger, something Lydia is in support of. I really like the Exiles as a concept, and their outcast lot in life reminded me a little of the Forsaken from World of Warcraft. People killed by a plague of undeath only to regain control of their minds, trying to survive in a world that fears them. It's neat. It's with the Exiles that we can go through a side quest that felt like it should have been part of the main story considering how personal it is for Crane. See, the main caretaker of the Exiles, both medically and in some ways spiritually, is a man called Starchild. He's a British bohemian New Age type, and he believes Crane's biology can help the Exiles, explaining how the infection has affected them emotionally and physically, down to the rewiring of their brains to be more prone to feelings of depression and anger. To that end, he sends us to gather bark from the Tree of Madness and the gallbladder of the freshly turned. Gnarly. The gallbladder is one thing, but you may be wondering what the hell is the Tree of Madness? I'll show you.
the fuck?
Yeah, so that's not normal. It's worth noting that while we do this, Crane begins to hear his own voice talking to him, blaming him for what happened, telling him that he killed everyone, it's his fault. So this is absolutely going to make him slam face first into that trauma he's trying not to think about. We get the gallbladder from a secure, isolated house where a wall is covered in names and letters, farewells to people who voluntarily locked themselves in the basement when the infusion stopped working for them. They didn't want to hurt the people they cared about, so it was put to a vote, and they chose this instead. With the ingredients gathered, we bring them to Starchild in his private grove where he safely grows things he can't get in the cave. He creates a stimulant for Crane to drink, something that will put him in a trance and force him to face his demons. He goes under and wakes up in the Baron's lab, surrounded by drugs and the walls of his cell. When the door opens, he has to walk down a hallway filled with other cells that show pieces of his turmoil, from rocking in a corner with the word animal scrawled above him as his voice laments the time lost to this torture, to being bound and experimented on like a lab rat. And the further Crane walks down this hallway, the less sterile it becomes, the more warped it grows, slowly overtaken by the same visceral, membranous growths of a volatile nest, as he gets deeper and deeper, seeing flashes of himself at different points, his voice growing louder, overlapping as it becomes more desperate, more angry and helpless, blaming himself not just for the deaths of Jade and Raheem, but everyone. Crane believes he's the monster who killed the world. Rather than nuke it then and there, he escaped Haran, delirious and on the verge of turning, so desperate to believe that what he carried was a cure, until the last possible moment when his consciousness was subsumed by the howling volatile. We see Crane sitting by piles of body bags, kicking himself on the floor, blaming himself for being captured, throttling different people, and fighting himself where one stands like a man and the other stands like a volatile. And then we see a hallway where Olivia twitches and snarls, infected, a freshly turned viral, with Jade standing across from her, the green beads of her necklace the same beads Crane has wrapped around his wrist. At the end of the hallway, Crane fights clones of himself until he can harness his pain and use his inner beast to fight the personification of his fears, finally waking from this induced nightmare.
Come on over.
Okay. What was all that?
PTSD. Remorse. Pent-up trauma. Waiting to have its say.
Yeah, not sure I gave it a chance to have its say.
You didn't. You silenced your pain and fear with rage. That was our aim. You've got no time for remorse. You've got to fight. You need that dark strength to survive. To defeat the enemy.
I doubt I'll ever outrun all that shit.
All that shit happens to be in this vial. Your blood. Along with every hormone you produced during that trance. And it might just help others find similar strength in themselves.
Strength to do what?
To open their eyes in the morning, get out of bed, and not blow their brains out.
What are you getting at?
Kyle, look. You appear human, but me, the others, we rot in that cave. Literally rot. From the inside. These changes, these... I know I reek, Kyle. So do the others. You don't say anything, but I know you can smell it. The stench. I throw up every day. Every inch of me hurts. And in here, fewer and fewer human thoughts. Sometimes I have these urges. It's a death sentence, prolonged by shrooms, but we're still dying. What's it all for, Kyle?
I know it's not much, but I understand your pain, and I'm sorry you're suffering.
Yeah. I'm sorry too. But we're not going to cry about it now, are we?
No, we're not.
So what now? Want to talk some more, or will you head out?
That vial. How will it help the others?
I'll administer them the same stimulant you took. But first, I'll tweak it a little after analyzing your blood. I expect to see an improvement in their self-motivation, in their physical activity, and I hope they stop living with crippling fear.
Sounds more like wishful thinking than science.
Hey, as long as it works.
And if it doesn't?
I tried handing out antidepressants and that didn't work one bit. We are no longer human, biologically speaking. What can I say? Can't be worse than it is now.
It's time for me to be on my way.
Kyle?
Yeah?
My name's Benjamin.
Yeah. Too square for a groovy guy like you. Starchild suits you better.
Right. Thanks, man.
No. Thank you.
Now get going and put that anger to good use.
Yeah, you bet. I'll see you around.
I already appreciated the little nods to Crane's trauma that we got early on, him having nightmares and such, but I didn't expect a quest to address it head on, or for it to sucker punch me the way it did. Let me explain. Kyle's trauma comes from a variety of things, being treated as property, being tortured, and being held captive. I'm not a professional, I'm just interested in the subject and like digging into characters' heads, but he almost certainly has complex PTSD. What do I mean by that? While any traumatic event can temporarily give someone PTSD, CPTSD is something that can last much longer, if not for the rest of someone's life, and this type is usually caused by a prolonged period of continued trauma. What Kyle went through for 13 years would have left him with almost no ability to feel safe or at ease, like he can't control what happens to his body, and the only freedom he'll get from this agony is through death, which is the point that he was at before he was freed. It would make him feel like he'll never be whole again, and he probably hates being touched because the scientists would have just grabbed and manipulated his body with no regard for his comfort, being treated like a lifeless mannequin or a wild animal in need of caging, never a human being. He wasn't a person, he was a thing. And what I love about the quest with Starchild is how bluntly it deals with Kyle's feelings of guilt and having his humanity stripped away from him, how he sees himself, blames himself. But the thing that I love most is that Starchild doesn't try to tell him to let go of his anger, when anger is the thing that can keep someone going. Anger can be used to push through and protect others so they don't have to experience what you did. Anger in itself is not a bad emotion. You are right to be angry when someone has hurt you. Do not let someone else's discomfort with your anger be the reason that you stop. You stop when it is right for you to stop. Back to the main story, the second we set up Selby's radio surveillance, she picks up on a plot to blow up the town hall by planting charges below it. Damn girl, I guess the Baron didn't care all that much about sparing them, huh? We deal with the explosives in a timely manner, saving the survivors of Town Hall once again, this time thanks to the Exiles. Olivia points us to another Chimera, meeting us at the location this time, which rustles Crane's jimmies a little bit since he'd rather not lose any more people. This time it's a jumpy, acid-spitting jackass called Toxin, and we fight him in some ancient ruins. How fun! Samples collected and steroids taken, Olivia heads off and Sven contacts us about an opportunity. See, bandits have sent one of the Baron's operations into disarray, allowing us to sneak inside a school and get our hands on their documents. This leads to us getting our hands on not just a data drive that holds information regarding the virus, Haran, and what the Baron is up to, but also one of his top scientists, Dr. Camilo Moran, who cooperates with us by handing over the keys to that data and agreeing to be taken in by the Exiles. After a brief hiccup getting him to the Exiles, he's handed over for interrogation by Lydia, and it turns out she knows him, as he was the one who helped them develop their telepathic abilities in the first place, the mushroom infusions that kept them from turning, and he treated them like actual people. This is the turning point for Lydia, apologizing for being hostile to Crane and handing him a revolver as a token of thanks. We bring the data drive to Olivia for study, and she points us to another Chimera, this one hiding out in an old cement factory, and look, I know I was playing on story mode, and this is not me complaining or bragging, I'm just pointing out that at this point in the game, I had done most of the map and side quests, my weapons were all legendary with legendary upgrades, I had most of my skills, and that poor motherfucker did not stand a chance. It was just very funny to me. Returning the sample, Olivia reveals that the red gas used by the Baron was developed from the blue mist used by the Children of the Sun. But where the blue mist had a sedative effect on the infected, the red gas does exactly the opposite, as we've seen so far. She also reveals that her father was in Haran at the start of the outbreak. When Crane asks where he is now, she gets quiet and looks away, to which we assume that he might be dead, only for Olivia to explain that he's actually with the Baron, working for the Baron like she was forced to. She's hoping to save him, but to do that, the Baron needs to be taken out of the picture. Our next task comes from Camilo. He has a plan to boost Lydia's telepathic abilities to the point where she should be able to control the infected. For that, he needs 3 samples of plasma from 3 volatiles. Specifically from 3 larval volatiles. As in from inside a volatile nest. Sure, why the hell not?
Shit, here we go again. That was fucking nuts.
Oh, and not to skip past it, but we do fight a volatile chimera that can turn invisible right before we get inside the nest, so have fun with that! We let Camilo deal with the science, and Olivia brings us to the Last Chimera, a towering colossus of a creature meandering inside a water treatment plant. But first...
One piece. So what's this new information you found?
This might be hard for you to hear.
Well, just say it.
I didn't know this until now, but it looks like my father was the one who brought you to the Baron.
What?
But he didn't bring you here to torture you. He brought you here to help you.
I guess the Baron had other ideas.
I'm sure my father wanted nothing to do with any of that.
Yeah. But he still brought me to the Baron.
Not voluntarily. I told you.
So, how was your dad's research project?
You were infected, but sentient. Part volatile, part human. My dad managed to restore your humanity. At least on the outside. Inside, you were something else entirely. The Baron wanted to replicate that. Replicate you. The Chimeras were his attempt at that.
This is fine. We deal with the Chimera finally gaining complete control over our beast state.
Now it's time to take down Daddy.
Well, that's gonna work for someone.
Oh, yeah.
Camilo has made progress with the telepathic boosting, but needs us to acquire one last ingredient, a special drug called neurarays. To do this, we need to get inside the old psychiatric hospital, which is surrounded by biters, a lot of virals, demolishers, and is patrolled by volatiles inside. How in the sweet hell are we meant to get in there? Psychic masking. Lydia is strong enough now to mask our presence from the infected. As long as we don't directly bump into them, she can keep them from noticing us even when they're looking right at us. This was the part of the game that left me clenching my ass the longest. I hated every second of this, and I mean that in a good way. I could just imagine the way Crane was flattening himself against the wall whenever a volatile stalked by. I also love the audio cue that comes with it, because it sounds like Lydia is whispering in tongues all around you. What happens if you do bump into one of the infected? You die, obviously. There's no fighting your way out of 50 virals and volatiles going to town on your face. Despite an alarm going off and forcing us to flee the building, we do get our hands on the drugs, allowing Lydia to boost her powers even further. We can't really linger on this victory, however, because the Baron is once again on his evil villain shit by releasing red gas on the town hall. Who could have seen this coming? The sheriff finally pops her head out of the ground and Crane does not accept her apology, but he does work with her to save the survivors, fighting through an obscene amount of bullshit, including virals, shutting off the gas, running from rooftop to destroy mortars, launching more gas, getting rid of gas grenades thrown by the Baron's men, and finally killing some of the Baron's perfected chimeras, at one point attacked by 2 of them, only for Lydia to intervene and make them fight each other. Jesus Christ. Confronting the sheriff, she explains that she was caught out by the Baron on patrol and given an ultimatum: either she hands over Crane or everyone in the town hall dies. But seeing how the Baron acted afterwards and how Crane still risked his life to save her people despite the betrayal, made her realize what a mistake that was. When Lydia and the Exiles roll up, we hear the sheriff say something that isn't heard too often.
You saved my ass.
That medication you retrieved made all the difference. The things I can do now are extraordinary.
Lydia? You're alive.
We all are. No thanks to you.
I just did what I thought I had to.
You cast us out, sent us off to die. But as you can see, we survived. We thrived.
But how?
We learned to control the infection. Made it work for us. You saw us as a threat, thought we'd get you all killed. The truth is, without us, you'd be dead now.
You're right. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I've been wrong about so many things.
I appreciate the apology, Florence.
So you've heard of Old Man Yowie, get ready for Old Woman In order to gain leverage on the Baron, our gang of misfits puts a plan together to capture the Beast, since that's the only thing the Baron actually seems to want. To that end, we lure our beastie boy in with red gas, bringing him to an isolated spot, and beat his ass just enough for Lydia to put him to sleep. They use some of Crane's plasma to stabilize him, and he's brought to the Exiles' cave, where waking him up triggers the endgame. Since I'd done most of the side quests at this point and unlocked all the points of interest, I dove in. Lydia wakes up the Beast, and subtitles immediately give away that this is Aiden, the protagonist from Dying Light 2. We ask him some questions about how he and Spike found Crane, how Aiden knows Spike, and what happened to turn him into the thing he's been for most of the game. The Baron calls to taunt us about having Spike and Olivia in his clutches, demanding Aiden be handed over or he'll kill them. This is a non-starter, obviously. We just got Aiden back in control of his body, and...
Wake up! Aiden is gone!
What?
He just disappeared!
God damn it! So Aiden ran off while everyone was trying to get some rest before assaulting the Baron's palace, probably thinking he'd keep him safe if he turned himself over, but the Baron is a military-grade arsehole, so that isn't gonna play out well.
Be here by noon, or your friends die.
Well, fuck that. The sheriff brings out maps showing the old castle that the Baron's palace is built on top of. Castles are known for having escape tunnels and secret passages, and this one is no different. The plan is to have Crane get inside, take out snipers on the walls, and open the gate for his allies to come in. This goes relatively well for us until the Baron sends too many soldiers out at once, overwhelming our allies and killing Sven, which leads to Lydia calling in virals to take the brunt of the attack. This would have been a great moment for Crane to use his beast powers, but whatever. We chase after the Baron, descending into the palace's depths and following his trail down a goddamn train tunnel that connects to his main facility, the very place we escaped at the beginning. After fighting through a truly obscene amount of bullshit, we find Aiden deep in the facility and start to free him, only for Olivia to close the cell behind us, locking us in. She apologizes to Crane as gas is released to knock him out, taking a sample of his blood. The abject fear he must have felt in this moment. Losing consciousness, Crane wakes up to the sound of classical music, sitting at the head of a dinner table, loaded with food, with his allies strapped to their chairs just as he is. This scene was really good, and granted, the Baron already felt like he would be more at home in Resident Evil. This firmly cemented it. The drama, the theatrics of it all as he boasts and paces and reveals with languid self-assurance how he orchestrated all of this. He ordered Crane's release because he could see that Crane had lost his will to live. He was becoming less and less useful as a test subject. But if the Baron could reignite his fire by, say, giving him the illusion that revenge was on the table. Well, why did Olivia do this? Because her father was bitten, and the Baron promised he could help. One of his many, many lies. But with his plans complete, the Baron has no use for dead ends.
You are a fucking dead man!
Hey, Crane. Hey, buddy. Pal. Kylie boy. It sure would be helpful if you had a superpowered beast mode you could activate at will, especially when you're stressed out and flooded with adrenaline. Wouldn't that be neat? Anyway, Lydia briefly gives the Baron a migraine with her telepathy, but he susses that out quick and slams her head into the table, quickly dispatching Camilo. This is when Olivia finally protests, begging him to stop, whereupon he hands her a gun and tells her to prove her loyalty by shooting Crane. If you guessed she would try to shoot the Baron only for the gun to be empty, you win a gold star. Lydia wakes up enough to give him another headache before he can kill Olivia, giving her the opening to stab a carving fork in his eye. She quickly starts releasing everyone, apologizing to Crane. The Baron injects himself with mystery science juice and releases his soldiers on everyone in the room. Olivia and the sheriff carry Lydia to safety, while Crane and Aiden chase that besooted bitch down through a hail of gunfire. Our final confrontation with the Baron takes place on a helipad, snow falling and the sun shining, his obnoxious smug voice giving away his location at all times. At the midway point, Aiden breaks off to go protect Lydia and the others, leaving the rest of the fight up to Crane. Now, once we delete his health bar completely, this is when the Baron really turns into a Resident Evil villain, because what the hell is this?
A new species! Engineered to dominate not just the virus, but humanity itself.
Admittedly, what it is pretty darn cool, but also, you know, fuck you.
I told you I'd kill you!
With that nightmare finally over, Crane can take a moment to breathe and... who the fuck is calling me?
It's good to hear your voice, Kyle. I guess our story wasn't over.
You? Are you fucking kidding me?
You know what, I would be mad, but I'm not surprised that she lived. Well, time to wait for the sequel. Overall, I am deeply curious where the story is going to go from here. They've obviously set this up for a sequel, and the GRE remains functional despite everything. What are they up to? What are they planning from here? I will say that I'm relieved that nothing romantic happened between Crane and Olivia, because 1, the man's traumatized. He needs time, space, and stability to emotionally and psychologically recover from what being tortured for 13 years would do to you. Pussy is not going to fix him. And 2, he's probably old enough to be her father. He was in his early 30s in the first game, which was in 2014. This game is set 1 year after Dying Light 2 in 2036. And don't hear me say something that I'm not. A 30-year-old woman dating a 50-year-old man is like, whatever, she's an adult. Barring predatory circumstances, it's none of my business. However, I think that there is a value in seeing 2 middle-aged people fall in love with each other, as it defies the idea that if you don't find the love of your life right away, or if things don't work out for you early on, then there's nothing left for you but lonely nights at the bar and becoming a crazy cat lady. You can always try again. It's only over for you if you give up. Tangents aside, I hope it's obvious that I genuinely loved my time with this. I know seeing me rip something apart can be fun, and believe me, I love watching my favorite creators do that as well, but it's important to find things that we wholeheartedly enjoy, and for me, Dying Like the Beast was definitely one of them. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment down below for the algorithm gods. Special shout out to my YouTube members and patrons who are all very handsome people. If you'd also like to be called a very handsome people, you can support what I do here or check out the link in the description. Members and tip jar patrons get their name in the credits, while patrons of the nerd tier will occasionally get behind the scenes content and video teasers. If you enjoy live streaming, I can be found over on Twitch, where I typically stream every Wednesday at 8 PM British time. But for now, don't forget to drink your water, take your medication, be kind to yourselves, and I will see you all next time.